If you ask a child to draw the sun, share music, every kid on the planet, no matter their culture, language, or hemisphere, will pick the very same color: yellow. In music, they'll sketch a yellow circle with yellow rays beaming outward. They do it naturally, with no one instructing them, because every textbook, cartoon, poster, emoji, and symbol system in today's world shows the sun as yellow. It's yellow. That's among the earliest facts a kid absorbs. So basic, it doesn't even feel like something learned. It feels innate. Now, step outside on a clear day, late morning or early afternoon, when the sun sits high and atmospheric scattering hasn't tinted it red. Don't look straight at it. You can't really, but observe the light it casts. Check the hue falling on something white. Examine shadows, highlights, and the color temperature of the world lit by that star every textbook calls yellow. The light is white. Not warm white, not cream, not pale yellow. White. At midday, the sun emits light that, under a spectrometer, peaks in the green part of the spectrum and blends across all visible wavelengths to yield what human eyes perceive as white. The sun, a G-type main sequence star with a surface temperature near 5,778 K, radiates white at that heat. This isn't fringe science. It's mainstream astrophysics. Every astronomer knows it. Any physics text covering stellar types states it clearly. The sun is a white star that looks yellow under particular atmospheric conditions. Yet every children's book, educational resource, popular image, and cultural depiction from the last century renders it yellow. The science says white. Culture says yellow, and that chasm is so vast, so universal, so persistently upheld that most people never spot the contradiction their whole lives. That raises a straightforward but vital question. When did the sun turn yellow? The more I dug, the clearer it became that the answer is precise, trackable, and traceable through educational publishing and scientific illustration history, landing in a time frame that, by now in my research, feels strikingly familiar. Examine sun imagery from before 1900. Look at medieval manuscripts, Renaissance paintings, 1700s and 1800s scientific diagrams, alchemical texts, astronomical charts. The sun shows up in various hues, gold, orange, red near the horizon, but the dominant scientific and educational portrayal is white or brilliant gold, white. The common pre-20th century term for the sun isn't yellow, it's white. Brilliant, dazzling, white fire, white light. Ancients called it white. Medieval scholars did too. Enlightenment scientists agreed. Because when you view it, when you see the light it genuinely produces, stepping outside the cultural lens that dictates what color to expect, you perceive white. The yellow sun emerges in the early 1900s. It crops up in textbooks, educational content, and the simplified color-coded charts made for a new mass education system, standardizing children's learning across the industrial world. The sun went yellow right when science education became formalized. That color wasn't observed. It was chosen. The silence was striking when I hunted for that choice. The specific editorial instant, someone opted to show the sun as yellow in school materials. And that option spread through every subsequent textbook, poster, and diagram until it became the unquestioned norm. Because that decision, if it was one, has left no record. No memo, no committee minutes, no published reasoning for swapping the scientific reality of a white sun with the cultural myth of a yellow one. In every educational product over the last century, as though following orders they barely understood. Here's what atmospheric science says. The sun can look yellow from Earth's surface under specific conditions due to Rayleigh scattering. The atmosphere deflects shorter wavelengths, blues and violets, more than longer ones, stripping some blue from the direct solar beam and shifting its apparent hue toward yellow. The lower the sun, the more atmosphere the light crosses, and the yellower, then orange, then red, it appears. At the horizon, it's orange or red. At midday, with least atmospheric interference, it's nearest its true color white. So, calling the sun yellow isn't as off as calling the sky green. There are times it does look yellow. But teaching kids the sun is yellow is like telling them mountains are blue, because haze makes them look that way from afar. It's offering an atmospheric quirk as an innate trait. It's instructing the distortion, not the truth. And the deeper I explored, the more I realized this particular distortion serves a purpose beyond atmospheric physics. Because when you tell a species its main light and energy source is a fixed color, you adjust their perception. You establish the standard against which all other colors are judged. If the sun is yellow, then sunlight carries a yellow tone, and white becomes something manufactured, something from fluorescent bulbs, something from LED displays. White light gets tied to technology. Natural light gets tied to warmth, to yellow, to that golden hour glow that photographers, filmmakers, and advertisers use to evoke comfort and nostalgia. The more I traced artificial lighting history, the more this perceptual calibration seemed less accidental and more like a prerequisite. Because the 20th century was the artificial light era, when electric lighting overtook sunlight as the main illumination for most human activity, when people moved indoors under fluorescence, incandescents, and LEDs, spending most waking hours in lighting unlike what their bodies evolved under. And that shift demanded a perceptual change. If people knew sunlight was white, then fluorescent white light would feel natural and familiar. But if they believed sunlight was yellow, warm, and golden, then artificial white light would seem cold, harsh, and alien. And the warm, toned artificial lights, the incandescent bulbs with their yellowish glow, would mimic sunlight, nature home. The yellow sun didn't just alter children's drawings. It transformed how a whole civilization viewed the relationship between natural and artificial light. It made warm artificial light feel natural and white natural light feel artificial. It flipped the perceptual foundation. And that flip served every industry needing humans to accept living indoors under fake light instead of outdoors under the real sun. The pattern recurs with eerie consistency, because the yellow sun is one facet of a broader 20th century perceptual overhaul, a restructuring of how people understand their connection to the sky, to light, to the core environmental conditions that shaped human biology for millennia. Look at old photos from the late 1800s and early 1900s. Observe the sky in them. Note the light quality. I know early film emulsions had different spectral responses than modern sensors. I know comparing light across photographic tech is tricky. But read what people wrote about the sky. Study 1800s descriptions of daylight. The wording is strikingly uniform, brilliant, white, dazzling, piercing. The sun, in pre-20th century writing, doesn't sound yellow. It sounds white, intensely, almost painfully white. Now read modern accounts: warm, golden, yellow, amber. The vocabulary has changed, not because the sun shifted, but because perception was recalibrated. The cultural lens was set in place, and once that lens was there, once every child learned the sun was yellow before they could question it, the white sun turned invisible. Right there in plain sight, overhead daily, casting white light anyone could see, yet no one could perceive, because the framework told them they were seeing yellow. Now, I need you to focus on something specific. Pull up the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram, that core chart of stellar classification in astrophysics. Every astronomy student knows it. It maps stars by temperature and brightness. Locate the sun. It falls under G-type. The diagram's color for G-type stars is white to yellow white, not yellow. White to yellow white. The scientific community's own classification calls the sun white. Yet that same community puts out educational materials showing it yellow. The official story breaks down here, because the mismatch isn't between folk belief and science, it's inside science itself. The research says white, the textbooks say yellow. The spectral data says white, the illustrations say yellow. The HR diagram says yellow, white. The classroom poster says yellow. The gap isn't between knowing and not knowing. It's between what the institution knows and what it teaches, and that gap persists intentionally, year after year, edition after edition, uncorrected, unacknowledged. With no educational authority stating the obvious. The sun is white. We've been illustrating it wrong. The more I probed, the more the yellow sun appeared as one instance of a wider issue, the oversimplification of natural reality in educational content to a point that shifts from pedagogical shortcut to perceptual control. The sky is shown as flat blue, though it's a nuanced gradient. Space is depicted as black, though it's filled with light across wavelengths invisible to us. The atom is drawn as a mini solar system, though it's really a probability cloud. Each simplification implants a perceptual lens that blocks students from seeing reality as it is. And each lens has a function. It makes the simplified version feel natural and the accurate one feel odd. The yellow sun makes warm artificial light feel like sunlight. The uniform blue sky downplays atmospheric complexity. The black space makes the cosmos seem barren and threatening. Each tweak pushes perception in a certain direction, away from nature, toward embracing the artificial environment industrial civilization has built to replace it. I'm not alleging a conspiracy to miscolor the sun. I'm saying the sun is white, every textbook says yellow, and no one fixes it. I'm saying this mismatch has continued over a century without the educational system acknowledging it. I'm saying the perceptual outcome of teaching kids the sun is yellow is measurable, meaningful, and benefits industries that need people to thrive under artificial light without sensing any loss. I'm questioning why the most visible object in our environment, the star everyone sees daily, appears in every educational resource worldwide in a color that doesn't match its actual look. I'm questioning why the fix, which just means altering a diagram's color, has never been done. I'm questioning what it signifies that the first scientific fact most kids learn about their world is false. I'm questioning what else in the textbook has the wrong shade. What else has been oversimplified into perceptual manipulation? What other natural features have been recolored, reshaped, or redefined to make the artificial feel normal and the natural feel foreign? Step outside. Now, if it's daytime, observe the light, not the sun itself, but the light it casts. The color of the world under direct sunlight. Ask if what you see looks yellow. Ask if it matches the textbook shade. Ask why you were taught to see something other than what's actually there. Given a yellow crayon and told it was the sun, what else have we been handed and never dared to challenge?